Welcome to University City United Methodist Church's Town Hall for November 22nd, 2021. I'm super excited to see people real live and in person. And I hear that there are lots of people that are streaming too, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to give you a quickie overview of what we're going to talk about, and then we'll just jump right in so we use our time wisely. So tonight's agenda includes quick reviews of several MAPS updates. That's our ministry action plans. Also, some Bless, Belong, Believe updates, along with updates from other areas like finance, personnel, and facilities. And the facilities update is going to include some information about our campus master plan that we've been working on. Then we'll do a little bit of a Q&A, first regarding that campus master plan, and then about any other topics that we've covered tonight. So I'm really excited to have you all here with us, and I hope you'll enjoy. I'm going to invite Wanda up to share a little word.
Good evening. Hey, I am going to be reading tonight Psalms 100, and even though we are going through challenging times in our personal lives as well as in the life of the church, we should still be thankful and give God the glory because He is a good God and He will never fail us. He has brought us this far and He will continue to see us through. So let us trust and see what He has in store for us. Psalms 100. Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before Him singing with joy. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us, and we are His people, the sheep of His pastures. Enter the gates with thanksgiving and go into His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him and praise His name, for the Lord is good. His unfailing love continues forever, and His faithfulness continues to each generation. Let us pray. Our most gracious and loving Father, we just thank You for bringing us together this evening. We thank You for all of the blessings that You have bestowed upon us. We ask You now, Lord, as we gather together to discuss issues regarding the church, we ask You to come. We invite You in our midst right now, and we ask that whatever is said, discussed, and done here tonight may it be to the honor and glory of Your name. We just lift this service up to You and let Your will be done. These and many other blessings we ask in Your name. Amen.
Good evening. Good evening. That's better. I'm first up, so I get to do some fun stuff with you. The very first thing I want to do is say, Happy birthday, Board of Stewards. I don't know if you realize, we're just a little over a year old. November 7th last year was our inaugural meeting. So we've been here for a year. Wow, amazing. It's been excellent to work with this team of people, colleagues, brothers and sisters in Christ to do His work here in our church, in our community, in our city and state. So happy birthday to the Board of Stewards. Hope for many more years to come. If you were present at our last town hall, this is our second one, our last town hall on May the 24th, we introduced to you our relaunch map. Now, there's no way that you can see all of those little things that are up there, but we're going to talk a little bit about them and give you some updates on the map, the relaunch of our time together. And it was called Relaunch because we were hopefully coming out of the pandemic. We were really looking at it as a new day, a new horizon, a new way for us to bring people back into the church. And it is very fulfilling Sunday after Sunday to see more and more people coming back into the church. So let's take a look at that list. Now, this is going to be a little bit of audience participation. Janice loves to do this on Sundays. I'm following you, Janice. A little bit of audience participation. You're going to see some check marks coming up. We're going to check things off of our list from last time. And when that check mark comes up, I want you to join me and say, check. We got it done. All right? So we're going to take a look at our list here. These are, when we had that whole big list in the map, we prioritized, the Board of Stewards prioritized. There's lots of things on there that we want to accomplish, that we want to focus on, but we realized we can't do all of it at one time. So we prioritized that list, and we came up with primary, secondary, and tertiary list of things that we wanted to focus on. So I'm going to share with you first, this is our primary list of priorities. You'll see here that we talked about the 24/7 worship. We're going to talk about that in a second. The lay empowerment and development, re-belonging and creative connecting, the digital front door, which was a big topic, pastoral transition, and the property redevelopment. That's last because that's going to be a big part of this evening, so I moved that to the last. But you see how these were listed in the bless, belong, believe categories on our map. So let's take a look at these. The first one was the 24/7 worship. I believe we've done a great job with that. Obviously, this is going to continue to grow. If you go on to YouTube, you go onto the website, you can see starting to build a library of our sermons, everything from Pastor Donnell, the Fusion meetings are there, UC Kids are there, concerts are there. That will continue to grow. So our 24/7 is growing. You can go onto that at any time to pick up any of those that you might have missed. So that's a check. There's the first one. All right, next was our lay empowerment and development. This is a big category for us because as we are moving towards and we want to have a focus on a lay-empowered congregation, a laity-empowered congregation, this was important for us to really talk about and focus on. So this is where people would come up with ideas, and we encourage them to have ideas and bring them to the board, and we would talk about them, discuss them. Is it something that falls in the values of the church and a direction that we want to go? And then those would be approved, and we would move forward with that. Now, there are some things that we have had, and I want the board to, if I missed something, please jump in and let me know. I want to share some of those with you that we have had people bring to our attention, that we have successfully voted on, and they are now in the works. North Mech Exceptional Children's Class Community Service, a group from North Mech of autistic students that we are working with to give them opportunities to build skills for job search in the future. Kennedy Strong Foundation, Betsy, yay! Kennedy Strong Foundation, we're working with Betsy to help in a project there. And all of these, of course, you'll hear more about over time. Freedom School Partners we did this past summer, a group of young people coming in, helping to improve their reading skills. We did that. And Harping for Hope, where's Ann Olson? Ann Olson, yay, Ann Olson. She's sitting out there at the door. Ann Olson, Harping for Hope was another project led by a layperson that came to the board. We approved that, and it's now underway. So this is ongoing, will continue to be ongoing, so a wonderful thing for us. And we can say, check, very good. Next is rebelonging and creative connecting. This is, again, another thing that's ongoing. Karen Pachta, where's Karen? Karen, where are we? Karen Pachta right there. She's going to be leading this about helping people find ways to create ways to bring people into the church, opportunities for people to connect through various methods. So she's going to be working on that. And, of course, you'll hear more about that as time goes on. So with that one, we can also say, check, very good. Next was our digital front door. Oh my goodness, that's a big project and has been an ongoing big project for some time. And that's an update of our website. How do people see us these days? How do they get information about us? And as we all know, the website is something that is a way for people to connect with us. So we're on the cusp of that becoming live. There's actually, I found out today, there's going to be some training tomorrow for the staff, so that they can learn to make updates for their information. One of the challenges that we've had in the past, that if changes needed to be made, and this was one reason that things took a little longer to get changes updated, is that we had to go through a whole process through the people who were sponsoring the ad, et cetera, sponsoring the website. So it just took a long time. We've now transitioned into another format, another platform, which allows us to make those updates almost immediately. And I want to congratulate Bill Benson. He went out and learned Squarespace so that he could be one of the experts on this. And we're all going to learn how to do that so that if there's anything that you want to update regarding your group, regarding your ministry here in the church, we can do that and make that happen very, very quickly. So a digital front door is becoming, is getting ready to be launched. So look for that. If you were coming in tonight, you saw the loop, the video that was playing. That was some examples of what it's going to look like. So I think you'll be very well pleased with this when it starts to happen. So thank you. All right, so what can we say here? Check. Very good. The next one is something that went very smoothly for us, our pastoral transition. Yay. All right, so we transitioned from Reverend Boggs to Reverend Fritz Jeffries. All of that went very well. He said earlier, they're going to think that I changed from John to Donnell. No, we just had a great transition with that. So we can say, check on that, very good. And then the last thing, and I'm not going to talk too much about this because this is going to be coming up, but is our property redevelopment. You're going to hear more about that a little bit later this evening. So we'll just say for that, check, that's done. So of all the lists that we had for our primary priorities, they've all been checked off. Now we move to secondary. I'm only going to share these with you very quickly. They've yet to be fleshed out fully, but just to share with you what they are, what they're going to be. Discipleship, this is focusing on developing pathways to move from new to mature disciples, identifying and equipping leaders, offering some training for Bible studies that are live as well as virtual. Small groups, these might overlap with discipleship sometimes, but it's a category by focusing on creating appropriate small groups to meet the needs of the congregation. Children and youth, Janice and Zach do an excellent job. One of the goals that we have is to help them by finding ways to bring in more youth and more children into the church so that they can work with them. And then lastly, broadening the approach to communication and marketing. And whether we want to think about it or not, like marketing, like for a business, we've got to get the word out. How are we sharing with the community and the city and the state even about our church? What is the marketing for our organization? And we know that there are people in the congregation who have some marketing skills, some marketing background. We would love to hear from you. Help us put together a marketing plan so that we can get the word out of all the great things that are going on here at UCUMC. It's great to have word of mouth, but we realize that in today's age, we can't just depend on the word of mouth. How are we going to get the word out to everyone? So those are from our map, some updates for you, what we've been working on, the things that are coming up that we're going to start focusing on. One of the other things that I wanted to do with you this evening is to give you a little bit of a stay ready update. As you can all know, if you've been watching the news, we're not doing very well in Mecklenburg County. The numbers are going up. We all know that the mandates are in place until we can reach a 5% positive rate and keep that for 7 days. Now, if you've looked at the numbers lately, they're not anywhere near that. So if you've not been vaccinated, we encourage you, if it's something that you want to do, get vaccinated, get your booster shot. We want to find as many ways possible as we can. We still have the mask wearing in the sanctuary and in any indoor meetings that we have at the church, socially distanced seating. We are doing everything possible to make sure that we can keep everyone healthy so that we can come worship and serve the Lord here at UCUMC. So just to give you a little bit of that, right now everything's the same. Masks indoors, social distancing, etc. And then the last thing that I want to do is say thank you. Thank you to the staff for keeping us going through this difficult time, through the challenges that we face. I've been amazed by the creativity that has been going on amongst all the groups, the staff as well as the laity, of finding ways to get together, meet together, making sure that things don't fall by the wayside, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's back in person. I know my particular Sunday school class, we're back in person, but we say mass, we do all the necessary things because we want that camaraderie together. So thank you for everybody that's done that, from the outside of the building, the landscaping, inside. If you've had anything to do with helping our church continue moving forward during this very challenging time, we say thank you. But one of the most important things as we move forward and we focus on building that lay-led congregation, We're going to take a little bit of a take on our Sunday morning theme when we say there's a pew for you. There's a team for you. There's a team for you. Whether you're participating in that team, whether you're leading a team, there is a place where you can use God's gifts to help you become more involved in the church. Being a Christian and being especially a member at UCMC is not necessarily for a wallflower. Not that that's bad, but we want you to be involved. We want you to feel fulfilled and using the gifts that God has given you. So find that team. Find that team. Start that team. If there's not a team that you find that you want to be on, start one. Find something that you can do to start a team. So just a little bit of updates about the map, where we were from May till now in November, and just to say thank you. Thank you to everybody that has kept us going. All right? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brooke Francis. I'm here to give you the staff parish relations update for tonight. It's hard to believe the last time I was up here, I was talking about the transition from Pastor John to Pastor Donnell and introducing Pastor Donnell and his wife, Kathy. It seems like it was a long time ago in some ways, and in other ways, it's just blink of an eye. So we're excited with the transition with Pastor Dee and Kathy here, and I think it's gone incredibly well. And obviously, it makes my job easier that it's gone incredibly well. So thanks for that, Pastor D. Also, we had a couple of hires since we last met. I don't know, is Chris Tibbetts here? Oh, there he is. Stand up and wave to those here in the room. So Chris, welcome Chris. He joined the staff here as our facilities manager, and you can really appreciate how much work it goes into a campus this size, indoors and outdoors, and we're really excited that he's joined this team and wanted everybody to get a chance to say hello and thank you for coming tonight. We also have Shannon Long. She's not here tonight, but she has joined as our weekday school director. It's a promotion, as you probably know. She's been around the church for a very long time, and we're really thrilled that she has now taken over that position as the director of our weekday school. Other than that, the big updates here for us at Staff Parish, a lot of times people think about us as the one who really takes care of the church, so I do want to give some credit to the staff care team. It's not really part of the Board of Stewards in the new model, but Andrea Reed and that team has done a fabulous job taking care of our staff, and I just wanted to extend thanks to them. I know that they have some fun year-end activities planned with the luncheon for the staff and the Board of Stewards and that staff care team. Other than that, that's pretty much what's been going on from a staff parish relations perspective, and I'm going to call up, I believe it's Reggie, from a finance update.
Good evening. My name is Reggie Enthat, and I'm the financial coordinator for the Board of Stewards. First of all, let me thank you for your faithful giving that is helping UCMC to continue with the Lord's ministry in and around our community. On a positive note, I'm happy to report that UCMC has received more estimate of giving cards in 2022 amounting to $417,000 compared to $359,000 in 2021. If you have not submitted the estimate of giving cards, please submit it as soon as possible. These pledge cards help us to do the financial planning. As the stewards of the church financial resources, the Board of Stewards has been reviewing the monthly financials, annual audits, approving the budget, updating the financial policy, monitoring the designated and earmarked funds, managing the debt financing, and safeguarding the church assets. As you are all aware, the COVID-19 has impacted the churches around the country with the lower attendance and contributions. The 2021 budget of UCUMC included general contributions of $1.35 million to provide for the estimated operating expenses submitted by the ministry leaders and the department heads. However, the October 2021 financial reports show year-to-date income of $922,000, much lower than our budget, and the expenses of $1,026, leaving a deficit of about $109,000. We believe with God's grace and with your year-end contributions, this shortfall could be overcome. Meanwhile, the Budget Committee, led by Lynn Comstock, has presented the 2022 budget to the Board of Stewards on November 11th for approval. The budget was prepared to support the church strategies and goals and the needs of the ministry leaders. The 2022 budget includes an income of $1.24 million and the expense of $1.4 million, leaving a shortfall of $160,000. Generally, we try to balance the income and expenses in the budget. We could not do that this year. The Board of Stewards, after deliberations, approved the 2022 budget on the condition to review the income and expenses trend at the end of first quarter to determine if any action items are needed to revise and balance the budget. Our church has been very active with several ministry and mission activities, and with your help, we expect to continue them. Because of the financial constraint, the church has been paying the apportionment at 50% of the amount calculated by the conference for 2021, and we expect it to continue similar payments in 2022. The weekday school and the extended day both belong to the church, had tough time during the last school year, due to lower attendance and tuition fee refunds. I'm happy to report that both have started the new school year with normal activities while following the CDC COVID guidelines. In April 2020, the federal government passed the CARES Act to support the small businesses struggling with their finances. UCMC has received $235,000 in 2020 and another $235,000 in 2021 as loans under the Payroll Protection Program. The 2020 loan payment was forgiven in full in 2021 by the Small Business Administration, and an application will be submitted for the forgiveness of the 2021 payment by the year end. Under this program, the church is required to maintain the head count and the salary levels. These PPP payments are helping the cash flow. Thanks to Lynn Comstock and Phyllis Van Cleve for their efforts in getting the loan payments and the forgiveness. Despite the tough financial times brought in by the pandemic, UCUMC has not canceled any of the programs so far, and with God's blessings and your support, we expect it to grow, performing the Lord's ministry in the years to come. I hope this presentation has given you some understanding of the church finance in 2021. Thank you and blessings.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Rigsby, and I'm the Trustees Coordinator for the Board of Stewards. So I don't really have much of a trustees update for you guys. I think the biggest thing we've done recently is we hired a new janitorial company. The old one was not cutting the mustard, so we made a switch, and Rhea approached me, and we changed companies, and I trust that everything is going a lot smoother, and the building is a lot cleaner here recently. So that's really our biggest trustees announcement, which is a very good thing. We don't want a whole ton of those. So The biggest reason I'm up tonight is to introduce, you guys have heard, we've done a lot of updating in the newsletters about the property redevelopment. We've kind of changed the way we've talked about that and the way we've named it, but I think that's one of the biggest things been mentioned a few times tonight. So I want to thank Judy Besler real quick because she wrote my entire introduction out for me. And I warned her, and she did a wonderful job. I warned her that I was probably going to go off script like several times, but after I read it 2 or 3 times, I realized it was so good, I probably won't go off script very much. So that's the bulk of my off script. So the first part of this is how we got to this place. So I'll start reading from here. Our church has considered the best use of our 15-acre property for some time. We also realize the need to generate recurring revenue that will sustain our church and its ministries. In keeping with the UCUMC mission to change the world by making disciples of Jesus who bless others, belong in community, and believe in Jesus, we need to leverage all of the blessings we have received. Maximizing the use of our campus as a community focal point to glorify Christ is an obvious means to that end. Here's my first off script. The PPP money has put us in a position that we can do this. And the board, and I personally have said this numerous times, and everybody has chimed in on this, that money was a gift from God. And it is extremely important that we use that money to do God's work. And I believe, and I think the Board of Stewards firmly believes that leveraging our campus, using our campus, and coming up with a strategy to use the property that we have is one of the best ways that we can help to grow God's kingdom. So that was my off script. It was kind of a serious one. I'll try to be funny later. So let me recap what's been happening and what we expect going forward. This is a little bit of a recap, but I wanted you to hear my words on that. Earlier this year, the board voted to move forward and explore the best use of our campus. We recognize that the success of such a project would require commitment and participation from the church members and, very importantly, the expertise of an outside firm. I like to think I know everything. My wife tells me I act like that, but I don't. So I think most of us are that way, and it's not our expertise. An ad hoc committee was formed consisting of board members and lay members. Their task was to identify and interview land use and planning firms, and then we narrowed our search to 3 top local firms. Over the following weeks, the committee heard presentations, reviewed proposals, discussed, and prayed. That was probably the most important part. The committee chose the firm of Shook Kelly and presented their choice to the board. After hearing a presentation from Shook Kelly, the board voted unanimously to proceed with them. So this goes on to what I've already said a little bit about, but why we can move forward. It has to do with where our church was blessed with the forgiveness of the PPP loan to offset 2021 payroll expenses. The Board of Stewards agreed unanimously that the church could afford to move forward with Shook Kelly on this exploratory project. The cost of the first 3 phases of the Shook Kelly project is $74,000. The board wanted to be sure the funds spent for this project addressed 2 fundamental needs. The first was to stay in keeping with the UCUMC mission of changing the world by making disciples of Jesus who bless others, belong in the community, and believe in Jesus. The second priority was also to generating a recurring stream of revenue that will support our church and ministries. Again, this first work with Shook Kelly is absolutely exploratory. We have no preconceived expectations about what the findings or recommendations will be. We continue to pray and ask for your prayers that the hand of the Lord will be in the work ahead. Judy's a good writer, and she writes a lot. Now a little bit about Shook Kelly. You may be familiar with some of Shook Kelly's most notable projects, Birkdale Village and Charlotte's historic South End District, among many others. We also wanted to know more about the local Shook Kelly projects similar to the one we're undertaking, such as Aldersgate, also known previously as the Methodist Home, South Park Church, and Sharon Towers, which is also known as the Presbyterian Home. So we requested their testimonials. From Susan Pugh, the president and CEO of Aldersgate, Susan said that she has worked with Shook Kelly and Terry Shook for the past 10 years and is still working on Aldersgate projects. She has been particularly impressed with how Terry and his team engage with the community and abide by the Aldersgate guiding principles in everything they do. She has never doubted that they have the best interest of their Aldersgate and the community at heart in all that they do. From Childress Klein. Childress Klein is one of the Southeast's largest full-service commercial real estate companies. The company has directed the planning, development, leasing, and management of more than 50 million square feet of commercial properties, making them one of the country's most prominent land use and development firms. Chris Thomas, the COO of Childress Klein, told us Shook Kelly is a preferred partner for many of their projects. He said that Terry Shook was instrumental in the research and development of the vision for the rebirth of the Sharon United Methodist Church into the new South Park Church. Chris added that he enjoys working with Terry and Shook Kelly because they have such a deep understanding of people and communities. Chris also told us that Sharon Towers recently chose Shook Kelly for their new independent living memory care and nursing facility project. And about Terry Shook, we are pleased to be introducing you to Mr. Terry Shook with us this evening. He will be the point person with our property working committee to explore our mission through the lens of property project, and that's what we're going to call it moving forward. Terry is the founding partner and principal at Shook Kelly. Terry is the annual lecturer at the Executive Education Program at the Harvard University Graduate School of Design. He also serves in an advisory capacity to the Dean of the College of Architecture at UNC Charlotte. Terry has also shared his views with national organizations such as the Urban Land Institute, the Congress for New Urbanism, the Seaside Institute, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and the International Council of Shopping Centers. Now I'm going to turn the floor over to Terry. Terry's going to show us an overview of the first 3 phases of the project. Once Terry finishes, I'll then going to introduce you guys to Judy, and then she has a few things to say to you. She'll be leading the committee. Terry?
Thanks, John. That was a mouthful. You may have, used up all of the vowels and the consonants available tonight. I'm not sure. But hello, everyone. Very glad to be here. As many as you know, we had a good laugh the other day looking at slides, and when I presented, to your ad hoc committee, and the name of the slides was Brenda's Church. As you know, Brenda Lally and Jeff Lally, who are members of your church. Brenda's been my CFO since she got out of UNC Chapel Hill. So yeah, so thank you, Brenda. I got to do well. There's no doubt about it, and we intend to. We do a lot of work across the country, but home is very important to us, and one of our taglines is "We convene." We believe that's very important in terms of the work we do as land planners, because we're without a committed group of people around something that's really important to them. We're just one hand clapping. That's all we can do. We're only as good as our clients and the commitment that they have to the project and the kind of energy and spirit that they bring to it. So that's important, and that's why we're here tonight, of course, to kick this off and together among the church, those that want to work with us, all of us, in this grand pursuit. Because one thing about it is that you'll notice that's a great picture of a bonfire, and that's important to us. It's kind of an icon in our practice, because the reality is, as human beings, from you might say the beginning of being a human being, we gathered around campfires to tell our stories and of course eat our food and to connect with each other. And I believe it's particularly important within the context of faith. I think because you are at a moment of transition, no doubt about this, for a church to embark on the type of thing you're doing, and to, as you might say in a Star Trek moment, boldly go into the future. It's an important thing to do. And I was sitting back there and I was thinking about, in my own background, my Shook ancestor, along with Reverend Asbury, founded Methodism in Western North Carolina. And that was a time when he was supposedly a Revolutionary War hero. I have my doubts about that personally, but I won't get into it. But But he had a PTSD moment, nervous breakdown in the field, and Reverend Asbury was coming through about that time, and they connected around faith and actually formed the First Methodist Church in Western North Carolina. It's in Clyde, North Carolina, which is a little town outside Waynesville. And they met in the house, in my ancestor's house. And so the point is, it really brings up to the point that, faith is when we gather. It's not the buildings, it's not the edifice. So to sit here and say, as we go into the 21st century for churches, and it's not just you, although I give you credit, because I think you're at the start, just like the South Park Church, of starting something that's going to be, faith is going to be known in the 21st century by the steps that congregants make to find that new way of putting it into practice, as opposed to just wishing for the good old days. I think it's very important. So remember that bonfire. So let's talk about how we're going to get there. Again, first off, as I said, we're only as good as the amount of information, energy, and insight and discernment. I like that word, discernment, that is brought to this effort. But there's basically, fundamentally, three things that we are going to talk about. And the first one is charting the path, and that's what we're here to now. In terms of those of you that volunteer to work in this effort, to make the time, to have the meetings, and be that conduit with the rest of the members of the congregation, to explore paths that you might not have thought about is going to be very important. So you have to start at that point before you really get to where we need to go with the next step. This is another great saying that I picked up one time, and I read it in the newspaper, actually. I wish I had had a chance to talk to the gentleman, but he was a pastor of First Methodist Church in Gastonia, and I read it in the paper one day, and there's some argument going on about I don't know, I guess it was about morals and about what constituted good behavior and faith and everything. He said, people think too much about the pipes, but it's really about the water. And that's what this one is about, I think, for your church. And we're going to need people who join up for this, that embrace that idea about the real estate. Yes, there's going to be a lot of things that are a lot of sacred cows, shall we say. Hopefully they're like Baal, but not like any others, but that are going to get gored in this process. A lot of people grew up within this campus, these buildings, and the church. I don't say that's the church, but and the church. So it's going to be very much an interesting time. So we ask that those that are so moved really consider this deeply. The next thing up we're going to do, and it's like a Joe Friday moment, it's about the facts, ma'am, when you start. We got to audit your assets. And we're going to really do that, not only the natural ones that are part of this campus. I mean, there is land here, and the physical ones, which are the buildings we have, but also the assets of the church, what it means to be, at University City United Methodist Church. What does that really mean? We're going to get in some things you normally wouldn't think that a land planner would talk about, but that's how we're different, we think. And we've done that, we've already started it, I should say, in looking at where you are. And I do think you're blessed with a great piece of real estate. It's not South Park, few things are. So that was a bit of a chip shot. But that's a funny analogy for a non-golfer, isn't it? But I use it anyway. But there you are with a great piece of real estate in a great market that's growing all around you. We know the number of people that are coming in to Charlotte, and the good thing about those people when they move in, most of them are coming with, really looking to plant roots in a home, and they're coming with money. They're driving up the value of real estate. That's both a good thing and a bad thing. I think in our case, it's going to be seen as a good thing because we're trying to unlock the value of land. But I should say there are also people who are coming looking for a home in every sense, a physical home, a city home, a cultural home, and hopefully in many cases a church home. So you have all this opportunity in front of you. All this factors into our consideration of your land, your campus. Yes, you have a bit of topography, a little bit of a challenge, I might say, as we get into it. but that's what we will certainly look at and evaluate as we go forward. But it's a nice piece of land. It's at a signal. It's at, crossing roads. So all of these things, I think, augur in your favor. And there's just some of the shots. The next one up, really, we call it community visioning. And community is one of those words that has many layers to it. It's the church community and it's the greater community that we know, and also the community we don't know yet, which we need to discover. Again, that community in the future, and the community that we think we can build. And this is a challenge we've had at all of our projects. I'm very much a curious person when it comes to how organizations work, how organizations tick, and how they deal with change. Again, since Aldersgate was formerly the Methodist home, primarily set up for ministers and widowed wives of ministers, it certainly has changed a lot over its history. And now, at this time frame, they're changing even more in general, because all the normally CCRCs, as they renamed themselves, life plan communities, as if that mattered. I say that as a good ribbing joke to great friends, like clients like Suzanne. But the real challenge is they're having to prepare a place to meet the boomers. And just like you're finding in church congregates where you're trying to meet particularly the young people, when you meet people of a different mindset about the world they inhabit, you can't keep trying to meet them with solutions kind of wrapped as an opportunity. That's not the way it works. And Aldersgate was the same way. And we did some very, again, just like I said, during auditing the assets, some very soul-searching work with that board. And we went through a number of different alternative futures as to where they could go and should they go. And some of them were very bold. Some of them were to do nothing and atrophy. Some were to sell the land at a discount and to move to South Park and compete with Sharon Towers and Southminster, which is the Baptist, I think, Baptist denominated CCRC. But no, through a lot of very serious evaluation, and I'm sure prayer was in there as well, they determined, no, we're going to stay on the east side and we're going to embrace this larger community. We're going to become central to this community, not hiding, as you might say, their light under a bushel, which they've done for the longest time, is pretending that they didn't live on the east side. Very exciting things that are coming forward for Aldersgate right now because they chose this path. That's just a shot of their master plan. And the first thing they're going to be doing is a whole new community. Think about that. It's not just land development. It's taking on the task of building a whole new community, but Aldersgate, the institution, the spirit, the life of the place will be at the center. That's a bold thing to undertake. Now, this is 70 acres or more, but you can do that also on your 14, 15 acres as well. It's about embracing that community. That's just some of the shots of the new Aldersgate that's going to unfold. The new front door, you might say, and a park in the middle. Well, the other part is you have to, in order to get to that point, though, those were the alternative futures, but you have to create that strategic plan to get there as well. I mean, and that's what I spent my career doing master plans for people where there would be a whole clutch of pretty drawings, but end of the day, as professionals, we were not engaged in that process. How do you get there? And there's all kinds of things that are on shelves in places. That's what was so great about working at South Park, because they had a much smaller piece of land in many ways than you have, and they were constrained. But it was also, of course, very valuable. We did the first master plan for this for Childress Klein. We were there in the beginning with the church, helping them through some of these evaluations. But the key is that the property, even though it got redeveloped, the church is still the church. The church is still there. They have gone through some transformations, no doubt. but it's still very much part of the process. That was the original church we designed in the center. And the one that was actually built is not altogether different, same spot, but it followed the strategic plan, the vision plan, pretty closely. And of course, at Sharon Towers, similar kind of challenge. Again, less land than you have to work with, but similar kind of challenges that Aldersgate has faced. The idea being, let's have a place that can take our program away from just meeting the needs of the greatest generation and the silent generations and meet the retiring boomers. And I still say these are different sides of the same coin. Whether you're meeting the needs of boomers in retirement, or where you're meeting the needs of Gen Z and Gen X and whatever the next one that comes after those two, it's about understanding and being accommodating and finding a place in step with modern expectations. So that's the new building out there that it's about full now. It's pretty amazing. These things can be done. Real estate can be unlocked within rather entrenched organizations. And I don't mean entrenched in a negative way. It just goes to show the power of something. And change is hard. I'm not here to tell anyone that this path you're embarking upon is an easy thing. And it can't be something that's just assigned to us. Again, we're the other hand. You have to provide that other hand to clap with us. I mean, as this slide says, your participation is very critical. So thank you. I hope that's been a useful overview. Be glad to take any questions and try to answer them the best I can. Yes? The time frame, we will start we're actually starting now, but I think that's a good question, Betsy. I think we had something like over the next 6 to 9 months. We will pace ourselves. I'll allow.
Yeah. So we've signed the contract with Shook Kelly, and we're starting the first part of the Chart the Path right now. Today was the kickoff to that, and then in January, we're diving into the next phase of it, which will be to audit the assets and to start doing the visioning. Good question. Rich?
That's a good question. And obviously at least 2. And the alternative futures really will come out of the process of discussion. There will be at least 2. There may be 3. It'll depend upon that once we get into the working committee, if we all determine that there's, say, 3 paths to follow and to model out and to see what they mean, then by all means we'll do it.
Yeah, just to back up a little bit, as part of the ad hoc committee, there was a tendency just to ask Terry, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about, what this may look like? And, he always brought us back to, let's don't start with preconceptions of what this place should look like. Let's build these different visions independently and then come to the table and pray about them and then go through that discernment process. So.
Yes, exactly right.
Betsy.
Oh, again, that's a good ba-boom, ba-boom. Nothing has been predetermined, Betsy. That's part of all discussions. I mean, as I would say, as you look around this great city that we inhabit, most everything except those things that are obvious will not be considered. But I think in terms of, uses, how we knit the things together that further the mission of your church congregation is on the table. So I don't have any preconditions
Yeah,
or
the
preconceptions.
starting
myself.
point was what Jeff was talking about. You know, it's our church vision and mission, and we want to come to a point that there is recurring revenue that comes out of this plan. And besides that, Terry and his team is going to take us through a process to create those different possible pathways. Christine?
You talk about South Park Church? I think and don't hold me to this, I think Chris Thomas would be a good one to talk about. I think at South Park Church, their model primarily was to seek to unlock the value of their land in order to primarily have totally new facilities. I mean, and now whether or not there were other monies that went to endowments or program enhancement or what have you, I can't speak to that. But I do know it was primarily because they were so constrained on land, but they had value in the land.
Anything else? Questions for Terry or the Board of Stewards? Yeah, those are great questions. Thank you for proposing those. And so now we're going to let Judy come up
I look forward to working with everyone.
and tell us a little bit more about the process going forward and the team we're putting together.
Good evening. Thank you, Terry, and thank you to the Board of Stewards and the committee that chose the vendor, chose Shook Kelly. Honestly, I'm excited. I don't know about you. It's scary, I get that, but it's also really exciting to see where the vision for our property is going to take us. Now that you know a little bit more about the Mission Through the Lens property project, we have a big ask, and this is all about you guys. The vendor search committee members, John Rigsby, Kip Reed, Bill Benson, Ken Beasley, and I have already volunteered for the working committee to work with Shook Kelly on this project. Shook Kelly's going to be working on the assets and cataloging those, but we need to have the other side where we're talking about the vision for the community, and that's where our church and its members come in and work together with the Shook Kelly team. We need you for this project in order to make it a success. We're asking for 5 more volunteers. It's not a lot. We want 5 more volunteers to join the Property Working Committee. So please search your hearts and search your skills. If this speaks to you and you want to be part of working on the vision for our future, please, please, oh my goodness, look at that. There's my email address and a QR code that'll get you to the same place. As a reminder, Terry Shook will be guiding us, but it's up to the UCUMC community to stand up, step forward, and be part of this thrilling chapter of our history. As Terry and John and our members have said, the wheels are already in motion. This train is getting ready to leave the station, people, and we want to have as many church members as possible with us and contributing to the research of the community. That's our part, the church community and outside the church community, under the guidance of Shook Kelly and their expertise. Please respond if you are interested in being a volunteer and you know it already, or if you need some more information. Again, QR code, email, That's to my personal email. So if you're ready to come on board, contact me. Let's get going and make this happen for the future of our beautiful church. Thank you.
I get to do the fun and exciting part, that is, answer any questions that you thought of after someone's left, or I'm kind of the follow-up person. They say, well, Bill, you can answer all the other questions. So Rhea, are there any questions online or anything? What's come up? Nothing's come up there. And so I imagine, well, everyone's done a great job of explaining stuff, but are there any questions that you thought of after someone left from staff, parish finance, or trustees, or any of those?
Judy mentioned that she's looking for 5 volunteers. And what kind of skills you are looking for in these 5 volunteers?
Skills? I think she would take just 5 volunteers. Okay. People that have a heart for what's gonna happen. Yeah, there's not specific skills. We just need 5 more people that have a heart for what, to look at this. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, Rhea, nothing? 3, okay, very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate your participation.
I'm Ken Beasley, serving as your lay leader, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts about where we are as a Board of Stewards. We're at our first transition point where we have the way the Board of Stewards is built. We have 12 members and 4 rotate off each year. And we have some folks that are rotating off this year, and it's just really neat, I think, the way God put this all together. We all know what a difficult process it was to develop the Board of Stewards, the guiding principles, and then to implement it. But it was really neat the way God put all the folks in place for this first journey together. A lot of different skill sets, a lot of different talents and gifts, a lot of different perspectives, and we always had really good discussion. We challenged each other, but we also, at the end of every meeting, I really felt like we were always on the same page, and that's just a blessing from God. And I just want to thank John Rigsby, Reggie Enthat, and Kip Reed, who will be rotating off this year, for y'all service this year and all you brought to the team. And I know y'all are going to jump into other things because y'all are such active, wonderful members of our church. And just thank you for all you've done this year. Let's give them a hand. And then Dennis Morning acts as our treasurer, is rotating off. And the treasurer acts as an ex officio member. So Dennis has been active with us too and has just done a great job looking at the finances and doing the day-to-day things here at the church to make sure all that's done right. And we appreciate all Dennis has done also. So let's give Dennis a hand. So with that, we have Al Forbes is coming over as our treasurer. So he'll be on the Board of Stewards as that ex officio member. And then Michelle Abbott is a new Board of Stewards member. Very glad to have Michelle part of the team. So once again, it's all, this first year is all a first, right? And this is the first time we've brought a new group of people into the existing Board of Stewards. So we're looking at how we're going to do the onboarding of that and make sure we get them up to speed. We can't assume, they haven't been through what we've been through the last year. So we got to make sure that that transition is done correctly. We still do have a couple openings for the Board of Stewards. So if God's leading you to maybe think about it or talk about it, you can talk to Pastor D, and he can give you some more details about what it entails and some of the things we're looking for. I did say, after this first year, on October 23rd, we had a 4-hour session on the Saturday morning, and we just wanted to look back on the year and really be self-critical about what we think we did well and what we think we needed to improve on. So, and I will report to you, Renee Wilt led us through that process, and she did a wonderful job. We have an action list of things we want to do better. And most of it's around, you can imagine, we've gone from this model where you have all these different committees reporting up to a church council and to this one board, just figuring out the decision-making process. At what level of decisions do we need to be involved in? We just have 12 folks handling all these administrative burden, plus trying to look forward on things like we just talked about with Terry. So it's always that balancing act. So we're really looking to improve that and make that even better. And we've got some great ideas to how to do that. And Renee helped us put that on paper. And that's some things we're going to be implementing next year. So anyway, thanks again for all those that have served, all the roundtables that we've done, the town halls, and the staff, all they've done to support the Board of Stewards and the communications we've had. And we're excited for year 2. I think I'm going to turn it over to Pastor D to close us out in prayer.
Well, since I've gotten here to University City, this is my 5th month, going into my 6th month. In December, I have been known by many names: Reverend Fitzjeffries, Donnell, Pastor Donnell, Pastor D, Pastor Rev. What I've been impressed with here among the staff is the way in which the staff has worked for many years to not create silos, but to work together as one body to get the ministry work done. You don't know how rare that is. There's not jealousy, there's not envy. There is this ability to look to God first and then to work for God's purposes here at UCUMC. If you can give your staff a clap. God really is alive in them in this church. My first experience with leadership here has been with the Board of Stewards. It's a new model that I was not familiar with, and I found out it was brand new. It was created about 6 months before I got here, and now has had its 1 year of birth, and they have done a yeoman's share of work. Anytime you create something new, it takes time for it to gel, to come together, and the first members become the founding members. They help set the course for what's going to happen years down the road. And I want to tell you, the people who are on the Board of Stewards at this point have done wonderful work, God work. And I thank all of you for what you have done to help this church come to where it is right now, in this new day and in this new time. So for me, thank you. And what I've also seen is that the people of University City have a way of listening to God and responding with joy. And let me tell you, now, this should not be unique in God's church. But there are many places where people forgot how to respond with joy. They forgot how to look to God and say, service can be a place of fun instead of heart attack serious. So I thank every member of this church, online and in person. When you come and bring God's Spirit with you, it makes everything possible. It makes preaching a joy. And it makes the teamwork that makes Sunday morning happen just that much more like God's kingdom. So to all of you out there and all of you in here, from my heart, thank you. Thank you for what you do. This is my clap to you. Now, we do need more people to be serving the Board of Stewards. So what qualifications do you need? A discerning spirit. What's that? The ability to listen for where God is showing up, where God is present and where God is in every meeting, in your life, in the life of the church. To listen, to look, and to see, that's what it means to discern. And then to make decisions based on that discernment without regard to what I want to happen as an individual, but to see what God wants to happen here at University City. Your board does that now, and I think there are many people in this congregation, if not the majority, who have that qualification. Now, you can have skills in finances, skills in building, skills in management. These things are good. But the greatest skill you need is to be a true disciple of Jesus Christ. Because if you believe and trust in God, God will equip you and give you everything you need to get the work done. It's a joy for me to be here for 6 months. Well, a couple of weeks. I'm just excited to see what God's going to be doing. I've been impressed and just wowed by what God has already done. I don't pretend that I come to a blank slate. You've had many pastors who've done some hard work over many years. And we pastors always try to build one upon another so that when I leave, the next pastor has just that much more ease in moving in. This has been one of the best welcomes that Kathy and I have experienced, so we do thank you for that as well. I look forward to the work we're going to do with Shook Kelly as we dream about developing the land to be something that God can use to enrich our community and to make God's kingdom just a little bit more present here on this side of town on Harris Boulevard in Sugar Creek. Well, I'm not going to keep you anymore. I'm just going to say thank you. And I'm going to pray that God's Spirit would uplift you. God will keep you. God will meet you in your dreams, touch you and pour into you, that you might be able to say amen and hallelujah every day. And that anytime you come to church, anytime you leave this place, your witness will tell the world our God is alive. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.